Hey everyone, Value Add Mike here today to discuss how I vet our property management companies. For those who don't know, my name is Mike Taravella, Value Add Mike, and me and my business partner manage over $100 million in commercial real estate, specifically in the multifamily sector. And given all of my issues with property management the last couple months, I figured I'd make a video on how to vet your property manager. And so for third-party property managers, I use the analogy of keep using the hot hand, because property managers come and go, and some are good for short periods of time, and some are good for longer periods of time. But I think the biggest thing that when looking at property management companies is look for managers in your location. And so I get really scared in looking at markets that are sub 30,000 people because it's less people to rent from, but it's also less likely for find contractors and people to willing to go that far out in the cities. And so the biggest thing I look for is number of units within a market. And then from there, I identify those markets and who manages those properties, and actually reach out to local owners, and I reach out to brokers and see who are the best property managers to work with. And so you'll get a short list. The brokers are incentivized because they know who's adding the value and who's not. And then from the owner standpoint, everyone is very particular in how they manage a property, but it's making sure that they are executing the business plan, because owners, we're a little bit quirky at times and have different likes and dislikes of certain people and processes and systems. But at the end of the day, I care most about who's executing. And so if you call 10 brokers and 10 owners, and you will get a short list very quickly of who are the recurring top players and who are the bottom players and who to operate with. And so once I have that list of how to operate a property and who is good and who's not, I shorten that list and I actually drive those properties that they manage and see, because I want to see, do they take care of the property? Do they take care of the residents? What is the response time? So I'll even call the leasing department or shoot an email and inquire on a unit and see what's that timing, and just to see what those times are in terms of responses. Because in property management, speed, and even real estate, like Logan Rankin, velocity is absolutely critical. And so I want to make sure when we're going through these deals, are the property managers responding to residents? Because it could be water damage, can just destroy units, smoke, any event can happen. And so I want fast, responsive team members. I want generally a 24-hour response to marketing inquiries. I want people to answer the phones. Doesn't have to be the first time, but I think it's just important that they're answering phones and handling resident requests, because if they're not handling those, that's going to be detrimental to you and your business. So scale, referrals, velocity, and I think in the interview process, I'm looking for guaranteed of execution. I see a lot of property managers, they'll get cute with their fees, and so I've heard stuff like, oh, the property manager gets to keep the late fees. And I always get confused because that's incentivizing bad behavior. And so I'm looking to make sure that the property managers are okay with move-in fees, are okay with rhinos, because those are competitive advantages in our markets, because the residents have to put less down in terms of willing to stay in our units. I want to make sure they're up to speed on good marketing. Are they taking good photos? Are they using their Motorola Razr to take photos? Like, those little things make up a huge difference when it comes to marketing units. Because if I have to go through another sales pitch on why AppFolio is the best system because it syndicates to 38 different websites, I'm going to lose my mind. So making sure that they're not just going through this pitch of what's going on, but most importantly, are they executing in terms of marketing? Why do they use certain systems? Why do they use certain vendors? And what that makeup is, and making sure they have backups. Because the last thing you want to do that I've learned is if you have one contractor and they don't show up, the unit's not getting turned, and I'm losing $50 to $100 a unit a day on move-in fees, rents, etc. So it's super important that you have that ironed out, making sure they have backups, making sure they have plenty of people, not necessarily on staff, but in their background and contractors and network that can work for them, because then they'll work for you. And then an ancillary thing that I've been seeing more of and asking a little bit more of as the times changes, are they leveraging virtual assistants and virtual team members overseas? Responsiveness is critical. Payrolls are getting much more expensive, and I think it's super critical if you can leverage virtual team members. It saves a ton of money for the burden for the property manager, and they also get to execute around the clock. So those are the things I look at when it comes to a property management company. Make sure leave any questions or comments in the section, and I'm happy to get to those, and also just share our property management insights that we've had to deal with the last couple months. But if this video got any value, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share it to someone, and most importantly, subscribe to the investor updates to make sure you're on top of it. And we'd love to connect and hear about your investing goals. And until then, we'll take over the world.